tend to think of the ocean as the planet's ultimate arena for attack, and land as the stage for the biggest, showiest monsters. But there's a third battlefield that almost never gets its due: the rivers, lakes, swamps, and deltas that have quietly hosted some of the most efficient killers in the history of life on Earth. Freshwater is a strange place to be a predator. It's shallow, it's murky, it's seasonal, and it's constantly changing. And yet, for over 400 million years, something has always been lurking beneath that muddy surface, waiting. So I wanted to know, if every period in Earth's history had its own freshwater systems, and every one of those systems had a single apex hunter running the show, who would it be? Let's wade in, starting as always right at the beginning of complex life on land.
For a long time, freshwater simply wasn't a thing worth talking about, at least not for predators. During the Cambrian and Ordovician, life was still figuring out solid ground even existed, let alone rivers running across it. So there's no contender here. Freshwater ecosystems as we'd recognize them hadn't really formed yet. Same story into the early Silurian. It's not until plants started colonizing riverbanks and stabilizing soil that freshwater habitats even began to take shape. So we're going to fast forward through a few 100 million uneventful years and land somewhere far more promising: the Devonian, often nicknamed the Age of Fishes for very good reason. By this point, rivers and lakes were finally becoming real, complex ecosystems, and fish had exploded into a staggering variety of forms. Armored placoderms ruled the seas, sure, but freshwater had its own contenders too, and the biggest of them all was a monster that makes modern river predators look tame by comparison, and that would be Hyneria, a giant lobe-finned fish that patrolled the rivers of what's now Pennsylvania roughly 365 million years ago. Hyneria could reach lengths of around 2.5 meters or 8 feet and came equipped with a mouth absolutely packed with sharp conical teeth built for one purpose: ambushing anything smaller than itself, including early tetrapods that were just beginning to test out life on land. In fact, some paleontologists suspect Hyneria may have actively hunted the very four-legged pioneers we all like to root for in these stories, snapping them up right at the water's edge before they'd even had a chance to get comfortable with their new legs. Brutal, but effective.
Moving into the Carboniferous, freshwater swamps had become sprawling, humid, oxygen-rich mega ecosystems, dense with vegetation and absolutely teeming with amphibians. And it was here that one particular group began to dominate: the Temnospondyls, a wildly successful order of amphibians that would go on to rule freshwater systems for well over 100 million years. Early on, though, the freshwater throne belonged to something a little different: Crassigyrinus, an eel-like predator from Scotland with a body built almost entirely around a single goal: biting. The Permian is where freshwater predators really start flexing, as the Temnospondyls that have been quietly building numbers throughout the Carboniferous now produced some genuinely nightmarish specimens. And the biggest and baddest of the early bunch was Prionosuchus, a genus so large and so crocodile-like in appearance that early researchers assumed it must have been a true crocodilian, despite predating actual crocodiles by tens of millions of years. Found in Brazil and dated to around 270 million years ago, Prionosuchus stretched an estimated 9 meters, or nearly 30 feet, making it comfortably the largest amphibian to have ever lived, freshwater or otherwise. With a long, narrow snout lined with interlocking teeth, it would have specialized in fast lateral snapping motions, perfect for snatching fish and unlucky reptiles that wander too close to the water's edge. Just imagine a river system where the biggest thing swimming towards you isn't a fish at all, but something built like a salamander the size of a school bus.
Then, 252 million years ago, the Great Dying wiped out over 90% of marine species and a devastating chunk of life on land too, and freshwater ecosystems didn't escape unscathed either. Yet, in the aftermath during the early Triassic, one lineage of amphibians actually thrived amid the chaos, and it's here we meet possibly the most infamous freshwater predator in prehistory: Mastodonsaurus. Living across what's now Europe roughly 230 million years ago, Mastodonsaurus grew to around 4 to 6 meters, or 13 to 20 feet, and possessed a skull that was frankly absurd. Some of the largest amphibian skulls ever recorded, packed with enormous fang-like tusks that projected clean through holes in its upper jaw when its mouth closed. It's essentially the amphibian equivalent of a saber-toothed cat, except this one spent its life submerged in rivers and floodplains, using a powerful suction-feeding bite to inhale fish, smaller amphibians, and quite possibly the occasional unlucky early archosaur that got too close to the bank. But as the Triassic wore on, a new group began muscling in on freshwater territory, the phytosaurs, a family of reptiles so convergently crocodile-shaped that telling them apart from actual crocodilians at a glance is genuinely difficult, save for one dead giveaway, their nostrils, which sat up near their eyes instead of at the tip of the snout. And the biggest of these river tyrants was Smilosuchus, prowling the rivers of what's now Arizona and New Mexico around 220 million years ago. Reaching lengths of up to 9 meters or nearly 30 feet, Smilosuchus effectively outcompeted the aging temnospondyl lineage for freshwater dominance, and it did so with a skull built for maximum carnage, elongated jaws lined with recurved teeth designed for grabbing and holding on to struggling prey, from fish to smaller reptiles to fellow phytosaurs when the mood struck. For the rest of the Triassic, this was freshwater's new normal. Ambush predators built like crocodiles, acting like crocodiles, but not actually being crocodiles at all. Then, 201 million years ago, another extinction event, the End Triassic, cleared out the phytosaurs entirely, and freshwater ecosystems got a genuine changing of the guard as true crocodilomorphs began radiating into the vacancy. Early on, though, in the Jurassic, it wasn't the crocs that ruled freshwater. It was, surprisingly, a fish. Meet Saurorhynchus, part of a long-lived group of predatory ray-finned fish, sometimes nicknamed river pikes, for their long, narrow, tooth-studded jaws built for lightning-fast lateral strikes. While not gigantic by the standards of this list, reaching around 1 to 2 meters or 3 to 6.5 feet, Saurorhynchus more than made up for its modest size with sheer numbers and speed, dominating Jurassic river systems across Europe as one of the most efficient ambush predators of its era, and proving that sometimes brute force isn't necessary when you're simply faster than everything around you. But that title, fastest freshwater predator, wasn't going to last as the top spot for long, because by the late Jurassic, true crocodilomorphs had properly arrived, and one genus in particular claimed dominance over freshwater and coastal systems alike, Machimosaurus. Living across what's now Europe roughly 150 million years ago, Machimosaurus could reach a staggering 7 to 9 meters, or 23 to 30 feet, making it one of the largest crocodilomorphs to have ever existed, freshwater or marine. And unlike some of its slender, fish-eating relatives, Machimosaurus came equipped with a short, robust, almost bone-crushing skull, suggesting a diet that leaned heavily toward turtles and really anything unfortunate enough to wander into ambush range. This was a generalist apex predator in the truest sense, dominant in rivers, estuaries, and coastal shallows alike, and functionally untouchable throughout its range. Rolling into the Cretaceous, freshwater ecosystems reached what might honestly be their most terrifying chapter yet, because this is when true giants, on par with anything the oceans had to offer, started showing up in rivers. And the undisputed king of this era, and honestly a serious contender for deadliest freshwater predator of all time, is Sarcosuchus, better known by its considerably more metal nickname, SuperCroc. Living in what's now Africa around 112 million years ago, Sarcosuchus reached an almost unbelievable 11 to 12 meters, or 36 to 40 feet, and may have weighed as much as 8 metric tons. To put that in perspective, that's longer than a school bus and heavier than a full-grown African elephant. And Sarcosuchus wasn't even alone in this arms race, because roughly 30 million years later, another river monster emerged that may have rivaled it in sheer horror, if not quite in size. Purussaurus, better associated with slightly later epochs, but with early relatives already testing the waters alongside Deinosuchus, a genus prowling the rivers and coastal swamps of North America around 80 million years ago, reaching lengths of up to 10 meters or 33 feet, with bite forces estimated to exceed even that of a Tyrannosaurus rex. Deinosuchus is thought to have specialized in ambushing large dinosaurs at river crossings, and fossil evidence, including dinosaur bones bearing unmistakable bite and drag marks, suggests it wasn't just capable of this, it was actively doing it. So really, across the entire Cretaceous, if you were a dinosaur and you needed a drink, freshwater had quietly become one of the single most dangerous places on the planet to be, arguably more dangerous than anything roaming the open land at the time. Then, 66 million years ago, the asteroid hit, the non-avian dinosaurs vanished, and remarkably, freshwater crocodilomorphs largely shrugged it off, surviving the extinction that took out nearly everything else of comparable size. And in the aftermath, during the Paleogene, one lineage quickly reclaimed the throne, Purussaurus, a genus of caiman that would go on to become, by most measures, the largest predatory reptile to ever call freshwater home. Living across what's now South America, with the biggest specimens dated to around 8 million years ago in the following Neogene, but with the lineage already establishing dominance earlier, Purussaurus reached an almost absurd 10 to 12.5 meters, or 33 to 41 feet, and is estimated to have weighed upward of 8.4 metric tons, rivaling even Sarcosuchus for the heavyweight freshwater title. Its skull alone could stretch over 1.4 meters or 4.5 feet and came packed with thick, robust teeth built to crush through the shells of giant turtles and the bones of large mammals alike. Purussaurus lived in a vast wetland ecosystem now known as the Pabas system, essentially an ancient Amazonian megaswamp, sharing its territory with equally massive prey, meaning it likely had very little to fear from anything and everything to fear it in return.
Which brings us, finally, into the modern world. And you might expect after that lineup of absolute river-dwelling titans that today's freshwater predators would feel like a letdown. And in terms of raw size, sure, nothing alive today can match a Sarcosuchus or Purussaurus. But that doesn't mean freshwater lost its edge, because the modern deadliest freshwater predator title has a genuinely strong claimant, the saltwater crocodile. Despite the name, saltwater crocodiles spend enormous amounts of time in freshwater rivers, billabongs, and floodplains across Australia and Southeast Asia, and they hold the title of largest living reptile on the planet, with confirmed individuals reaching over 6 meters or 20 feet, and unverified but plausible reports of specimens even larger. With a bite force estimated at over 3,700 psi, the strongest of any living animal ever directly measured, and an ambush strategy honed over tens of millions of years of crocodilomorph evolution, saltwater crocodiles are responsible for more fatal attacks on humans than any other crocodilian species alive today. So, while the scale has shrunk considerably since the Cretaceous, the fundamental freshwater strategy, lurk, wait, and strike with overwhelming force, has clearly never gone out of style.
And honestly, that might be the real takeaway from all of this. Across roughly 400 million years, freshwater ecosystems have cycled through fish, amphibians, phytosaurs, and crocodilomorphs, each one taking their turn as the apex predator of the moment, and yet the winning formula has barely changed at all. Stay hidden, stay patient, and strike before anything even realizes you were there. It's not the flashiest strategy in the history of life on Earth, but if 400 million years of dominance is any indication, it might just be the most reliable one. So, out of every freshwater predator we covered today, which one do you think would come out on top in an all-out battle royale? Personally, I think Sarcosuchus takes it, purely on the combination of size, bite force, and sheer number of confirmed giant prey items. But let me know your pick down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey through the murkiest corners of prehistory, you know what to do.